Nightmare project the next morning. So I have the dash mostly back together, as you can see. I had one scare where I was like, oh no, there's two plugs on this side and there's only one plug on the other side. But it turns out that when I replaced my steering wheel, and I had forgotten this from a couple weeks ago, I had to switch into the airbag from the other vehicle. No, I had to keep this airbag but mount it in this steering wheel, which meant that, so this truck had the wiring through the harness and the other truck had the wiring separate. And so I have two airbag plugs. It's probably too dark for you even to see that. Anyway, I figured that out by going back and watching my own videos, actually, which is cool. And then I had another scare last night when I realized that I put the entire dash and the evaporator and everything back together, and I had forgotten to pull that nut through on the bottom side. Could you even imagine the swears that came out of my mouth when I realized that? I had the whole thing basically back together. And luckily, I was able to pull it out using a little screwdrivery tool that's bent. This thing here. I basically poked this through underneath it, hooked around the nut, and basically pulled it through the gasket. I almost said ripped it through the gasket, but that's not entirely accurate because the gasket's still intact. Anyway, the nut is out. Thank dog. Anyway, so the problem I'm dealing with now is that the line that connects to the bottom of the evaporator is this. And this also could be the cause of why it was leaking. Someone tried to crank this thing on and stripped all the threads so they could never get it tight enough, and so you can see they welded it. But anyway, I had to twist it off in order to actually get it off, and then I put it in the vise and I was able to get it off. But the nut that was on that piece, which I still need, it looked like the threads were all gone in that nut. So I was like, oh man. So I started looking for that line. It cannot be had. You cannot buy that line anywhere on the face of the planet. Not new anyway. I'm sure I could find it in a junkyard, and that might be an option if I get desperate. But, so I went looking for repair ends. I know you can cut the line, you put a different end on it, repair it with a coupling. It's low pressure side of the AC, and so it's not really a huge deal. But I couldn't find any. So most of the repair fittings that have a 20 by 1.5 millimeter nut are a half-inch line, and this is 3/8. And so I couldn't even find a repair coupling. And then I was like, okay, fine. How about, so this end is fine. I'll just buy a nut. Just a regular old, what do they call it? Flare nut or whatever. Tube nut. I couldn't find a tube nut. Maybe I didn't look hard enough. I think I was looking for aluminum, and I realized later that that's not an aluminum nut. It would be nice so that they wouldn't corrode themselves together. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll just buy a nut, drill a hole in it, and then, you know, cut the line, put the nut on, and then couple the line. And that may still be an option. It's nothing really special. If I could find a cap nut, I suppose it would have to be a cap nut. The other thing I could do is get a nut, weld a washer onto it, because all this thing really needs to do is hold that in so the O-ring squishes. Anyway, enough rambling. What I'm doing here is I'm taking this little tool and I'm cleaning the threads of this nut. I know. Can you believe that I'm even doing this? As I'm doing it, having a hard time believing it. But it's really my only option if I want to put this thing back together. And because this nut is not aluminum, most of the threads are still intact. They're just jam-packed with aluminum. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to try to put that line back on. I'm hesitant because I don't want to ruin the threads on that evaporator. If I do that, this truck will never have AC. Ever. Not by my doing anyway. So, I mean, luckily the evaporator wasn't super expensive. It's more the loss of my time. This has been just the most ridiculous project, time-wise. I want AC, but I don't know if I want it that bad. I live in Vermont. You know, I need AC like 4 weeks out of the year. Although, where it really matters is this, we take this vehicle on long trips. And you get a dog, especially a wet dog, in a hot car, and you're traveling down the interstate. You don't want to listen to the wind noise for 2 hours. Like, this is a road tripping car. So, being able to be comfortable makes a difference. Also, in the wintertime, when you want to clear clear fog on the windshield, it makes a huge difference having AC. So I'm going to keep plugging away. I'm going to try and clean up this nut and reinstall it, and then maybe I can vacuum test this thing today. So I think I got it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see any of this, but looks pretty good inside. So hopefully I'll be able to get that on there and it'll hold and not ruin itself. I kind of like to replace that O-ring, although it looks nice and soft. So anyway, ramble. Now I'm going to put the line back on. Alright, so I think I've got most of it back together. I did not take videos, sorry. I put the old line back on, and it seemed to go on well, which is exciting. I've connected it back to the accumulator, and I've actually vacuumed the system down to 30 psi, which is way exciting because it wouldn't get past 15 before. Which means I may have fixed the leak. Now I'm just going through, I just hooked up the batteries and it's not on fire, which is good. I've got a lot of the dash back in. I haven't put any of the bottom panels on, cigarette lighters, stuff like that. What I want to do, I haven't reconnected these here, which is the gauges. What I want to do is turn the key on and see if the airbag blows up in my face. So, let's try it. Okay, so security, anti-lock, brake, service engine soon, wait to start, check gauges. Okay. I don't know if I dare start it, do I? I guess I do. It ran. Okay. So, whoa, that's cool. Oh my god, it ran! Oh, that just sunk in. I want to check to see if the blower motor blows. I think the key has to be on. Holy cow. It blows. That's crazy. It never used to blow that much. It was always like... Alright, so it changes to feet. See if it goes to defrost. Goes to defrost. God, that's exciting. Radio?
And, you know, people are taking now routes that were once used for truck.
And fog lights. Whoops. I can't tell. The light's up though. Headlights. Yep. High beams. Yep. Turn signal. Yep. Cool. Oh my god, the motor doesn't do that. I think it used to. That is really exciting. This thing is pumping out some serious air. That is so nice. That evaporator was clogging the actual airflow. So now I'm going to finish up the dash, check to see if the AC system held vacuum, and then charge it.